might recognize this guy. So this guy, you probably see mostly, there's a few episodes that have been done in 3D, but you probably see him in 2D. He's a cartoon, right? But you can create the same models and the same characters in 3D. And they've actually featured that on The Simpsons a couple of times. So what I'm going to take you through today is just this software that we use and some of the tools and some of the processes, just a very brief glimpse into 3D. 3D can maybe appear a little bit overwhelming to some of you that are just seeing it for the first time. But I promise you the tools, the techniques, they're very intuitive. So they're actually designed to make it easy to animate, to make it easy to create stuff. We teach you these tools, we teach you the techniques, we show you all the tips. All of our teachers have industry experience and they bring that to your studies here at AIT. So a little for Homer here, I'm not sure how much it's going to lag, but I'll play the animation that I've done so far and you can see he's doing a little jump. Woohoo! And I created this earlier. And what I'm going to show you is how I created it a little bit, and then I'm just going to extend it a little bit to maybe get him to give you a little bit of a wave at the end to sign off and to say goodbye. So this software is called Autodesk Maya. I'll stand him up a bit. And it's a 3D package that is used in industry. It's used everywhere from Pixar, Disney, ILM, Weta, all of the big studios, all of the little studios, the game studios use it. This is a very established industry standard software package, and we use this all the way through many subjects here at AIT, including 3D animation. So for those of you that are familiar with games and navigating in games, it's a similar sort of interface. You can turn the character around, you can look at it from different sides, you can zoom in close to the character or zoom out far away. Because it's in 3D, you can navigate in 3D and you can look at it in 3D in the world. So that's the first thing we teach you, is how to use the tools, introduction to the software and how to navigate in your 3D scene. These characters, the way they're built is called 3D modeling. And we teach you 3D modeling, and you can see when I select Homer, you can see I can select the different parts of him. It might be showing up there as a mesh. We teach you how to model your own characters. So you can come up with an idea or design and model your own character and texture your own character, which means put colors and detail on the character, and then rig it so that it can be animated. We teach you that whole pipeline, and we teach you, of course, how to animate those characters. So it's a lot of fun. These subjects, you know, they're not meant to be very intensive. They're not meant to be very, you know, like taxing. They're meant to be fun. You're meant to be creative. You want to have fun with this stuff. So it is fun, and we might try and make the subjects as fun as we can. So when we're teaching animation, we teach the same principles that are established in 2D in 3D, and this is how it's taught in industry. It derives from the traditional animators from Disney. They're called the animation principles, and we teach those whether you're doing 2D or 3D, or traditional animation. So basically things like anticipation when he comes down before his jump, we'll put that pose in. Squash and stretch when he takes off, you'll see that pose. Then he'll squash up at the top of his jump as well. We put arcs into his arms and his limbs and his different parts of his body as he moves. And then stretching back down again and dragging the arms behind. That's called overlapping action. When we put in drag and we put overlap when he lands, squashes again, overlaps, and comes back to his final position. So those principles are really well established in animation, and they form the basis of all of our animation studies here at AIT, 2D and 3D. So when you put it all together, it looks organic, it looks real, it looks smooth, and it looks appealing to the audience. So how do I do this? How do I create this stuff? Well, basically, if I turn on here the NURBS curves or the controllers that we can see, the control Homer, you'll see it's been rigged. And what this basically means is that any one of these little devices, like handles, if you like, hopefully you can see that clearly, I can move them and I can basically move Homer around like he's a puppet, okay? It's like you're putting handles on a puppet. So if I want to, you know, raise his arm, I can do that. If I want to close his eyes, I can do that just by moving these controls around. We actually teach you how to do this. This is a very well sought after skill set called rigging in industry. There's not enough people doing it at the moment. We teach you this skill set as well as animating. So for those of you that are a little bit more technically minded, you can do some rigging. So what I'm going to do is just at the end of his pose here, I'm going to take him, I just put a little bit of a, just going to increase the timeline here so we can add a few more frames. And this is just a brief glimpse. So don't feel like it's overwhelming or anything like that. We teach you all this very, very methodically. So we start off simple, we start off slow, and we gradually increase the complexity until you've mastered these skills and you've got a skill set which will hopefully get you a job in a studio somewhere. So you can see little keyframes along here on the timeline that I'm scrubbing. And I can go, say, another 10 frames along here. And let's say I want him to sort of wave goodbye to you folk online there from AIT. If I wanted to do that, I can plan to put in some poses. And the first pose I'll do before he puts his hands up and waves goodbye is I'll get him to maybe stoop down a little bit this way. And this is called anticipation. So what it's all about is actually preparing you guys, the audience, for the move that's coming next, right? So it's a move in the opposite direction of where he's going to go. So I'm actually going to go in the opposite direction to where I want him to go and just prepare you for that move. I can also get his arm and get his arm prepared for this move as well. So all I'm doing really, all of this time is creating a pose. And animation, when you boil it all down, all it comes down to is poses. You're creating poses which, when you put them all together and you play them, it makes it look like the character is alive, okay? I can get here's a rig for his eyes, for example. Maybe I can just close his eyes here. So I'm just going to say close his eyes. So as he comes down, he's just going to close his eyes to sort of complete that pose. I might just get his hips and just push him down a little bit and to the left a little bit. So he's basically anticing or anticipating to this side here. If I set a keyframe here, so I'm just going to set a key. You can see when you're experienced with the tools, when you know what to do, this is a very quick and easy process. It's why animation is used everywhere these days, because it's got real production value to create stuff. So you'll see he's going to anticipate downwards after he finishes here. Then I'm going to come to another 10 frames here, and I'm going to basically go in the opposite direction and put his final pose in, which is a wave. So I'm now going to push him back, always start with his hips, push him back and up, stretching up. And let's get his hand and give his hand this wave. So he's going to literally wave his hand. We obviously want him to have his fingers open, so I can actually rotate his fingers as well with these little controllers at the back of his fingers. So I'll just quickly rotate these. Obviously, this is very quick. And once you create these poses, I can rotate his thumb. You can see I'm navigating around while I'm doing this as well. So it makes it easy to create the pose because you can see it from all of these different angles, basically. So I'm just going to maybe tilt him over a bit this way now and push him back. And of course, we want him to open his eyes again. So I'm just going to grab these and open his eyelids. It's this one. That's the bottom one. Just opening that. Now, once you create these poses in 3D, you can really refine them. You can go in afterwards. You can really polish them. You can put nice tracking on the arcs of all of these features, and you can really create something that has got that extra bit of polish and finesse that you see in movies that are made by Pixar or Disney, really high-end animation. So I'm just going to set a keyframe on everything here, and you'll see now he'll come down, he'll ante down, and then he'll wave up. Now, as he waves up here, I see his hand is not really going along the path that I want as it comes up to say goodbye. So I'm going to go halfway in between those two poses and put in what they call a breakdown pose. This pose tells how something moves from one pose to another. And this is the beauty of 3D, because in betweens, you can actually create the breakdowns after you've created those main poses. So I'm basically just going to drag his arm and his hand and maybe even his head a little bit so that it's a little bit more snappy when he comes up to say to that final pose. So if I put that in now as a breakdown in between those two poses, he'll have that nice arc coming through here on that hand and go to his final pose here. So if I say, I'll just refine some of these final positions. And there he is saying goodbye. So now if I play that animation, I'll turn off those controllers so we can see it. If I play that animation, we'll see Homer jumping and then waving goodbye to you guys. There we go. So that's the process of animating you in 3D. You create poses, then you refine those poses. This still needs more work. You can drag the arm, you can drag the hands, you can drag the fingers, but this is the process that we teach you.